Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome to our special meeting for today, Thursday, August. We're going to go ahead and get started. The time is now 5:01. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
VP Bowman.
Present.
Trustee Crab. I'm here. Trustee Garrett. Trustee Gross.
Present.
President Hannah.
Present.
And Treasurer.
Present.
We have a forum.
Thank you. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for the approval of agenda?
So move. Support.
It's been moved by VP Bowman, supported by Secretary David Smith for the approval of the agenda. Any questions? Roll call.
Yes, for me. And Trustee Gross.
Yes.
President Hannah.
Yes.
Treasurer Terry.
Yes.
VP Bowman.
Yes.
That passes 5-2.
Good. All right.
It's 5-2.
We don't have nothing to do. Just go straight to 100.
5-0.
Because there's no other stuff, right? Except, yeah, just go right down and get to you, right to your heart.
Okay.
Just keep flowing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to keep going down our agenda. The purpose of this meeting today is we had a conversation about moving Goulton and Rogers, correct? Mm-hmm. We wanted to do repairs for Harrington and Rogers. So the board had approved renovations to be done, and we knew that we would have to do some moving of those schools. Well, administration found that after talking to our construction team that it may be more feasible for us to just do one school opposed to doing two. So tonight, we're going to hear from administration as to the circumstances that led up to us reconsidering renovating two schools and now only focusing on one school. So under operations and maintenance items, we're going to pass the meeting over to Dr. Leverett.
Thank you, President Hannah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
At this time, we wanted to open it up and further elaborate on the decision that was made to focus on one school as opposed to both. And we want to ensure that we are able to have work that is done at Harrington and Rogers that allows for a safe working environment, learning environment, that is amenable for our staff, students, and community. So we were initially focused on those two schools. We had some conversation in terms of potential challenges with transportation, as well as contractors that still needed to be paid, and that it would be a more viable option to focus on one to make sure that everything that we wanted for Harrington and Rogers would be put in place for both of those school sites to be open. The main two reasons the shift took place was because of the issue, again, with the transportation and the number of vendors, as well as due to a decision that was made to halt all work payments in progress on current projects that were under Barton Mallow. A lot of those vendors did not want to do work for the district. We've also been met with challenges in terms of bids with that work not wanting to be picked up due to the lack of payment. So our goal is to move forward to make sure that we make some sound decisions, again, where we have viable schools and the resources that are needed for the students and staff. So with that being said, I would like to turn it over to, Saxy is here this evening, but I'd like to turn it over to Marvin Beasley because I know that on Monday we had extensive conversation around the bids for moving as well as the contingencies. So we just wanted to circle back around, provide some additional information, and move the work forward. So Marvin.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board of Trustees, President. I'm gonna call Cody up from Saxon, so we can do any questions that you guys may have from us.
Trustee Gross.
Yes, trustee Gross.
Yeah, my only question that I have is, because we are where we are, right? As it pertains to the non-moving of Rogers, based on what we've discussed before as it pertains to what's needed to repair, replace, and remove, will that building be conducive enough to have the kids be in there until we're able to do the actual repairs? That's one. Is the building suitable for them to continue to be in there to be educated? Because of things we wanted to do. That's why we talked about removing out. So although we're not moving them, is it conducive to be taught and learned? Second, if the answer is yes, and why, are we looking at a specific time to actually go in there to do the repairs wholly, or are we looking at having those projects go over to a possible next bond?
Okay.
I can answer, sorry, that's question.
Yeah.
The first question is yes, sorry about that. So the second question, based on the kind of work we got doing, what's going on, the project was to go ahead and knock out Harrington first, gonna get Harrington done. Harrington was the most critical school to get done. He was paying about $12,000 a month to heat the back of the school because the rooftop units no longer work.
Got it.
So as far as Rogers go, as of right now, we're looking into what the cost is to complete Rogers and get it done the same way we did, for example, the middle school. That's what we looked at with Harrington. One thing we was charged with was also talking to everyone was that to make sure that our schools we doing moving forward didn't turn like the project did at the high school, for example. The middle school was a great project or whatever took place, but the school being closed down appropriately the way it was, we got an opportunity to get that school completely almost done.
So now, my last question to this is, are there specific repairs in Rogers that can be done during the time the kids are in there for, say, after school, over the weekend, specific repairs without having to remove them?
So that was, I think I can answer that, Trustee Gross. I think that was an initial ask previously when we came, because I did not initially want any of the students removed from the school at all. I asked for that workaround, and because of and Cody could elaborate, but because of the extensive work.
Or the type of work?
The type of work that would have to take place, that's when we had to have the conversation about moving the students out of the buildings.
And I understand that because Harrington is critical, but you'll be fine, because it'll be foolish to try to do it now because of how it affects transportation and getting these kids routed.
Yes, sir.
moving around,
Correct.
Getting the information. I understand that. We're past that. But the expectation is not to have any repairs done at Rogers yet till we're able to finish Harrington and then move our Rogers at a different time, or I'm just worrying about the repairs, how serious the repairs are in Rogers, and when we're looking at the timeline of actually going forward with dealing with those repairs.
Right, so they can speak to the extent of the actual repairs, but again, Trustee, we wanted to focus, again, year one on Harrington, and then for the 25-26 school year, complete renovation of Rogers.
That's my answer.
Okay.
That's my answer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's my answer. That's all I need to hear. I just didn't want us to forget it, because
Yeah, no.
we talked about, but that's my answer. Okay. And then we'll go into designated plans on how to get those repairs done with moving if necessary.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, VP Bowman.
Now, I know around some of the equipment and placement, considering ESSER? I know this is bond funding and we're not doing anything to Rogers, but I know that purchasing of some equipment as far as a kitchen and things like that, are they getting any new equipment that could possibly fall under ESSER funding, or anything happening at Rogers so that they won't miss out on anything that could have went under the ESSER versus the bond? Is there anything?
Not this year, no.
Okay.
I do, but I guess, and it's along that line, and I don't want to transfer the meeting into the ESSER conversation. However, my confusion comes in is that a lot of these plans were made even before I came back to the board. And so if we've talked about projects that needed to be done in the third phase, are we still, if this is not going to be something that's done both in the same phase and then other projects in the third phase, then, and we're moving Rogers to the third phase, then what other projects that's listed in that bond, I wouldn't call it a wish list, but there were a bond project list that had been given to us multiple years ago that we never had a discussion to say, okay, we're going to relook at what this is. Because, I mean, at $34 million is not really not a lot that you can do with in far as building, new construction, things of that nature. And so, are we going to look at that, or is this the conversation? Like, I'm not sure, because when he says Rogers, redo the whole Rogers, that means a whole new elementary school in what he's verbalizing, which I understand that. But we now know that that's not necessarily the case, or that can be done with those dollars. And so I do want to have the conversation around, if you will, Madam President, around as far as how the ESSER dollars and what we plan on doing with those. But how does the sinking fund, ESSER dollars, and bond dollars, I think they're all separated. How does that affect what you're going to do as far as Harrington and moving forward with those third series projects? I think that's the first question.
But that's something that we got to take to the superintendent and look at the amount of money that's left and look at what projects we want to carry on with.
Okay, but I think, okay, so has that switched from the board now to the superintendent? Because when I first got here, these were board decisions. And if it switched to the interim superintendent or the superintendent space, administrative space, then I guess I would like to know how soon we're going to have that particular conversation, or has that switched?
No, it's not a matter of anything switching. I think it was because of the recent situation in terms of the contractors, not having enough contractors to satisfy doing the work for both projects, which made them have to decide that we have to do one since we can't, we'll focus on one since we can't focus on another. But it is based on that. I think we do now need to relook at which projects we had slated for Bond 2 and now how that's going to shift in terms of the projects they had with Bond 3. So this is just us addressing this current issue that has come up. And we realize, as Dr. Leverett was just mentioning, all of this became a factor because of this whole thing with Bart Mallow, the contractors that were due, those that weren't paid, some deciding they didn't want to work with us. So that whole situation has caused us to be in this place right now. So as a result, this is where we are, and this is how we're still trying to move the work forward with our projects, understanding that we just can't do everything that we intended to do based on what we had initially proved at first. But you're right. Now we need to look at this, our whole scope of what projects we wanted to address, because there has been a shift based off of this current situation right now.
Okay, I'm glad we're slowing down. Like, the slower the better. If we can, I mean, I'm glad we're slowing down. I guess it's just a conversation of, I'm just hearing that it's because of the contractors who don't want to work with us. But it's also contractors who didn't fulfill the work that they had for us. And contractors that we didn't withhold any payment. That was a Barton Marlowe practice because there were some who continued to work over years, multiple years under Barton Marlowe. District didn't control those payments. We questioned the fact of some of the work that they said they had done, and some documents were missing for us to even pay them to say that if you did the work. And so is that still a question, or did we just pay these folks? Like, how do we know, did we just pay the vendors? I came in at that, I read through emails, so we just paid those vendors? We're done with paying, that we're done with the district, or have we confirmed the fact have they done the work that they were supposed to do?
Retainage haven't been paid, so people are still held accountable to the projects they need to finish to get them finished.
Okay,
The architect is involved with Saxon, and we're looking over those projects. But the retainage hasn't been paid, so they're still obligated to finish that work.
So is that with some of the same folks that we've said because ideally, if you say that you have a problem with me because I didn't pay you, but you didn't do the work that you said you were supposed to do, I'm not going to pay you. But if the payment doesn't come from the board, I don't want it to be, it's not a district payment process. It's a vendor that we had previous to Saxy that controlled those payments. And if we're switched because we came to an agreement that we need to move in a different direction, and we is asking, did you complete the work? What is the timeline on them to finding out that they complete the work or didn't complete the work? We get the completed work done and move forward? Like, what is that particular timeline?
We just mean, talking to the contractors now currently to get caught up in working with Saxy and our architect through Pete. We're working with them now to see where they left off at, what work need to go back, and what they need to complete. So that is an ongoing conversation right there. Because again, what's good about it, you hold their retainage. So they're obligated to come back and finish the work. So it's some things that have to get done, like just high school. So you got the kitchen project, you got things going with the generator. We had to get those things done, or you wouldn't have been to open school up.
So these particular contractors who now say they're not going to work with us because they didn't get paid are some of those in this where we're holding their retainage because they haven't completed work? I guess is my question. Because that's the question. Are some of those individuals?
Yeah. That Cody.
Okay. I don't me either. I don't know. I know the list, but.
Okay, good evening. So it's not just retainage that's remaining to be paid.
Okay.
There is dollars out there of work to remaining. A lot of what the district has taken steps to pay on is work that was taking place, I believe it was this current one, was January pay-ups. And then for those of you who don't know, the pay-ups are every 30 days. So you can work an entire month and the contractors pay up to the construction manager. And then we go through that process with the architect and the owner and everyone approving those. So they're working that full month, and then that pay up gets generated in that following month. So if they work December, they're going to be in that January pay up, right? So the district is now moving in the right direction to pay some of these vendors that are out there, and they already have. But yes, there's still work out there to be finished. There's definitely work. It's not just retainage.
Okay. But we don't know if we don't know if these individuals whom will have work to complete are the same ones who did previous work.
So some of them are.
Some of them are, some of them not. So for time's sake, do we have a list? Or can we determine as you're going through who they are?
We can get that list.
Okay.
Definitely. I've noticed already since this step by the district.
Okay.
Some of those that were digging their heels in and not wanting to partake in any future work here are leaning in now. They're willing to then look at it and provide costs. So some of them that's been working in the district for years. So that was a good faith effort. And with our efforts here at WHRC with the doors and windows, they're seeing that money is flowing again in the district and things are moving in the right direction. So with us behind it, Marvin and the team and the board, and moving forward, people are starting to want to, like, okay, I'll come back and we'll bid it, regardless if they have, outstanding work or not. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll say a couple things.
Yep, we'll go back to growth.
Thank you.
Is it possible to get the amount of what it's going to cost us to do our repairs for Harrington? Because right now, I'm looking at remaining balance of 34 million, right? That's not including, I mean, is that excluding the amount of what Harrington's gonna cost us? Or are we taking the amount to do Harrington from this 34 million?
You're taking it from 34 million.
So how much is it gonna cost us to do Harrington? And the remaining balance from completing Harrington, that will determine what we can do on the wish list that we had, since we're not doing Rogers at this time, to base the projects and the amount of the projects to get done through the year. And with these people just coming back and getting involved, how would that affect getting the work done over at Harrington as far as contractors and getting them involved? Will that affect the timeline? Because what I read in the answer, because Mr. Trustee Terry asked, is it going to take the same amount of time to get one school done compared to when we were going to do two, a year? And according to the answer, it's still going to take that year timeline to get it done. Right? Am I right?
Correct.
That's the correct answer we got, right? So is that because specific contractors aren't going to get involved, or they're just getting involved? Does that have an effect on it? Or is that basically because the work itself is of time to get done?
So it's nothing to do with the contractors themselves.
Okay.
From the beginning, when we started, discussing these options, both schools were going to be a year long, just because of the work involved there. So nothing's changed there.
Okay.
That's all stayed the same.
Okay. So we will have an amount of what it's going to cost us to do Harrington and what's left of this 34 million, and then have us resubmit that give that wish list back to us based on the amount of money we have to get those projects done. Is that possible?
Yes.
So, Pete, can you expound on the question from Trustee Gross? Because I believe that the future costs for Harrington, you have that information at around
Unless it's going to
17
exhaust the
million?
entire 34 million.
Right.
No, the latest that we got from Saxy today was approximately 17 million. That's with a 20% contingency, so that could go lower.
Okay.
So it'd be 17, so whatever left over would be for Rogers.
So we're talking.
So 17.5 roughly, Trustee Gross, and then 18.6 for Rogers.
So if that's the case, then we won't have
It
any
is.
monies remaining to do anything on the wish list.
Don't
Because
sound-
that takes the whole 34 million.
But this is all for bond two, right?
This is bond, yes.
This is
Series.
series.
Yeah, it's the whole, it's Series 2 and 3, it's everything. We
Yes.
have 34, including Series 3.
That's, okay.
But what,
When we initially did the bond, we knew that towards the end, we would be pretty much tapering off the way the series would be issued. So we always talked about a possible discussion about going out for a new bond series towards the end. So, we're on that third series. That's just the breakdown that was always explained when we first did the bond.
so with that being, I guess, so with that being said, because here's, but if this is only, from how it was explained in previous projects with ESSER dollars, those were combined in projects from the bond that was using bond dollars. Some of those bond monies were transferred to ESSER dollars after projects were done. And so, because remember, we questioned that of saying, how do you have a bond project, but you can use ESSER? Some projects consider that you could use ESSER. And before we even got into even having this conversation around these elementary schools, that conversation was already taking place and had, even in a planning phase. So if we're eliminating ESSER from any of these projects, then what will the what was the ESSER dollars being put into projects for before? Like, they built the budget off using ESSER dollars in these projects. Now they're saying we're not doing it. I'm just looking at the bond dollars in front of me. So what did they plan on using money for before? I don't have my bond dockets in front of me at this point. I can get them, but throughout this bond project, they've done that. They use ESSER and bond together, mixed. And now we're not doing it. And so we're not, I understand what the email sent that I made the comment of saying not using, that one person like me, which is not true, because we didn't even have a meeting that day. Like, I had to go back and do a little bit of research, and I want to talk to you about that. But what is mixed in, like, if they could do it before to extend some of the bond projects, because we need projects done throughout the district. So why won't we, what are other things that we could do or could use as they've done previously in the beginning of the bond usage? Because the bond usage started way before any of us even got here.
Yeah.
They're them mixing that funding. So I just.
Let me ask a question for clarity. So my understanding again as to why we're focusing on one school, we understand that the resources, the money is there, but is the reason our rationale for not using, the rationale for choosing one school as opposed to two is because of the contractors. We don't have enough contractors to work on two? As to why we're choosing one? Is that the primary reason why we're doing it this
No,
way?
it's not the primary reason.
Okay.
That may be one of, but it's a very small part of it.
Okay.
There's plenty of people out there.
Okay.
One of the main reasons was we were unsure of where the current bond dollars were at with remaining funds until recently. So with that, and with everything still remaining to be done from previous CM, we are starting to take into account, okay, what's estimated for these schools, what's the most important school or crucial school at this time.
Okay.
That's the purpose, right?
That's fair.
And for us, it was Harrington. And then
Yes.
it brought up the conversation of transportation was becoming a major issue.
Okay.
So it led down that road. And to answer your ESSER question, we're coming up really quickly to September 30th, which is the deadline for the ESSER funds. Now, there is a liquidation extension that can be applied for on October 1st, which the district is going to go after, but it's not guaranteed. So in earlier discussions with other meetings, like the ARC meeting and the finance facilities meetings, it was coming down to, okay, if we don't get that extension, now what?
I remember that discussion.
Okay.
So
Right.
it was like, okay, let's take a step. We won't use ESSER for this. Let's use the bond because we know we'll have the bond dollars. We may not have the ESSER. So we're going to step away.
Perfect. Thank you. So this
That's
is
a
why.
better answer.
That is why.
Okay.
That is why.
Yes.
Okay? We're not gonna go down no more rabbit holes.
No,
Right?
that's the better answer.
No, that's because we didn't know, like, if it's not
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted us to, that was the
now we're
purpose
clear.
of us meeting today, to get clarity as to what happened.
Right.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what, now
Thank
that's the
you.
answer.
This is our last round, we're gonna stick with Kraft.
Okay.
Trustee.
No, thank you for the clarity. And I just think that was the way we felt like we were in the dark about it. And I just think that we should be notified a little bit earlier in a different way to, because like I said, we were in the dark about it, but it does make a lot of sense. And I mean, if it was brought to us, we wouldn't have had these questions. We probably wouldn't even be here today. So I thank you for the clarity.
We good? One more, okay, I got two more.
Okay,
VP
now
Gross.
the former plans that were for Harrington, is all of that continuing as previously specified, everything, the scope of work that we initially put out to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Treasurer Terry.
So, I guess, I know we kind of touched base on this, but how soon can we expect a list in regards to, I want to say, not necessarily the ESSER dollars, but with the bond dollars and everything else? Is there anything else we can be like proactive with? I know we're only doing one school, but I want to be proactive. Is there anything that, on that list that might be out there that we can start getting in the process or getting going? Or are we looking at just sitting on these remaining dollars and collecting interest? Or are we just gonna be idle? I mean, I guess I wanna know what the next steps are. I'm cool that you're doing one school, that's fine. If you can get it done sooner than later, I'm fine with that. But at the same time, it seems like we got plenty of opportunity to do more. We do. And if it's funding or something, I understand that. I know you're gonna look back into the ESSER dollars. I understand that. If it's something we can obtain with ESSER dollars short term, that's fine. I have a couple ideas for that as well. But I would like to see maybe next time, next month or something, to come back and provide us some kind of a status or an update on where we are.
We could definitely do that, and that'll give us a better picture once we get all the bids and we have hard numbers on what's happening in Harrington. We can lock in at that point what that dollar value is, and then now let's reevaluate what we can do. Like picking right back up where the high school left off, let's finish that and get anything else that needs to be done, like a wish list item there. But also make sure we have allocated correctly enough to hit Rogers and make sure we upgrade that and have that what was already planned. So in another month, that would be a good time to reconvene.
Okay.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Marv. All right. All hearts, we good? Any more questions regarding what Cody and Marv had to say about the renovations for Harrington? That's what we're talking about.
I have one
Okay.
more question about Rogers.
You have a question about Rogers?
About Rogers. Right. Doc, as it pertains to Rogers, although they're going to be in there, I'm just looking at 25, 26, because I don't know when we're going for another bond. Could be 25, 26. But my question to you, if there's some other things that need to be done, if we could hold Rogers, if Rogers is already being held to next year, is it possible to hold Rogers until the next bond is approved and go with those wish list items that need to be done? There were specific things that we had talked about in our meetings. One of the things was the beautification of the front entrances for the high school and the middle school, which was small, right? Remember, Marv? Yes. And because one of the reasons why I brought that up then was because it's good for people to see where the dollars that they voted on are going, not just hear about it. And one of the things is going into a school and to be able to immediately see where their money has gone, and that's the entryways of the middle school and the high school. And those are some of the things we had talked about. And I thought that we were going to look at those and get those done prior to the start of this school year, because I thought that was extremely important. If we're going out for another bond, then a parent come in and says, hey, what have you done with the money? But they can come into the high school and look and say, oh, wow, this is beautiful. This is what they're doing. So the next time we go out, they can say, I saw where my money went. That's my question.
So can you rephrase the question around
question
if we put Rogers on hold versus the bond? Because I think
Put Rogers
it's a
on
great idea.
hold to put monies toward things that we can immediately do prior to going out for another bond that people can see.
That would
Such
be
as
part of the wish
beautification of entryways, which doesn't cost a lot of, doesn't cost multiple millions. We talked about that. Okay. And I'm saying specific things that people can see. Since we're already delaying Rogers to 25, 26, if we're going for another bond, that could be in the second bond. And just utilize the remaining 18 million to do things so people can see now before we go for the bond.
Dr. Leverett, you want to answer? Wait, Dr. Leverett, you want to answer that or have that conversation with Pete and Marv in terms of definite answers? I know that's
Yes.
something you would need to take back to them so that y'all
Absolutely.
can say definitely
Right.
what should be done.
Say you got an answer.
I'm confused all over.
Because we voted on that, right?
We had it.
Marv?
The monitors are up in all the schools, the 85-inch TVs. The high school lobby, we did the high school lobby.
Oh, so it's done.
We did work on the high school
Oh, see,
lobby.
that I didn't.
We didn't.
So,
Go ahead. We put the monitors up and we did the high school lobby. We did that. We didn't. The only thing I haven't done so far in the high school lobby is the carpet part, the
Carpet
walk-off
part.
mat.
Okay, so
But
things are being done.
The drywall.
That's all I need. Okay, give it.
Here,
We haven't had any real updates.
we have not.
Right.
But that is not because they are planning to give us this information.
I
You
know.
guys have jumped the gun in terms of
Yes.
what, they are scheduled on our meeting in
Yes.
August to provide updates for everything within the school plan for the upcoming year, what has taken place, what is still planning to take place. So again, this is not because you've been left out. They just have
No,
not
I'm not saying
provided us.
that. You just need to tell me to just be quiet and say, Mr.
Well,
Crosby goes.
I mean, I'm trying to be fair and be respectful of
No, I'm
everybody, but
just-
we're
I'm just
over
kidding.
talking. But again, the point of this meeting tonight
Yes.
is to deal with and address whether we're to move forward with Harrington renovation and to prove the moving company. That's the next action item. But again, that's why I said, before we continue to go down the rabbit hole and asking another question, let's stick to why
Yes,
we're here.
I'm fine with it, Don. That sounds
Okay.
good to me. Thank you.
Okay.
I've just jumped the gun.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to move down to our next action, discussion item, Harrington Elementary Schools, the infrastructure upgrades, moving package. Dr. Leverett.
Yes, thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Marvin Beasley.
How you doing again? I had Cody step up with me. We can explain any questions about the moving package.
I'm all set.
So the move just includes what, teacher classrooms, desks, and things like additional?
Everything, cameras, electronics, electrical, everything. Everything gotta come out.
Okay.
And some of the stuff is, you got cabinetry, you gotta come down, it's a lot.
Okay, okay.
I do have a question.
so would this include the reinstallation of the tech stuff that was taken out of Rogers?
The stuff that was taken out of Rogers has already been replaced.
Okay,
We already, that's
So we
good to
don't
go.
need, okay, cool, we're good.
I do have a question. As it pertains to storage, because I know the specific items you're going to bring from Harrington over to Alcott for usage, but those things that you're not, we have a place for storage, and does that amount that we're approving include storage?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Man, y'all own it. That's all I needed. Okay. You good. Okay.
Any more questions? You good?
I'm good.
Any other? Yes, Treasurer Terry.
And I think this was brought up the other time too, but is there anything internal that we're doing to assist to maybe reduce the cost? And then in addition to that, are we having some kind of insurance or policy that if they do damage anything in that process, that they're liable versus us having to replace it ourselves?
So we have all their standard insurances that go along with it. In our scopes of work, it's clearly identified that if there is damaged items by them, the burden to replace it is on them. Standard with movers, and they always give it, is if it's, like an IKEA piece of furniture, those are hard, like if they get damaged, it's almost, impossible to fix. This is in the past what I've dealt with. But yes, if things are broken, the burden will be on them to replace.
And then how are we, controlling the items? Do we have a specific itemized list so things don't come up missing? Not, we didn't have situations before, but is that all going to be under control? We have a list of everything that's supposed to be accounted for?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, yes.
Yes?
Yep, they take, most of the contract, they take pictures of all of the rooms before they take the stuff out. They look at what it is, and so they can make sure they can verify what the items they took out the room.
And this includes cameras and anything else, clocks and...
That's exactly what's supposed to be done, but again, it can be all that bill speak when it comes.
Yeah, so the technology equipment that's there, cameras, wireless access points, internally, we're taking that down to help defray some of the costs. We're taking that, we're storing that at the Fell Center, and then once construction's done, it'll be part of the contractor's responsibility to rehang that equipment.
Okay. Thank you.
You good? All right, any other questions?
Upon, once we approve this and everything takes place and the moves are done, Doc, can you continue to give us updates on how we're looking over at Alcott, how things are going, the behavior of the children, and the relationship with the teachers and the principals? Give us some, instead of, later on, 2 or 3 months down the line, even if it's just a monthly update where we are, because this is something unique to us. And I just want to know how we're doing and, how camaraderie is over there and what's going on.
So that can be one of our early academic updates in terms of how we have the schools outlined for future presentations to the board.
That's perfect. That's all we need to know and how we're doing. And that includes everything, including your attendance, everything. How things are being done. Because that's going to be discussed in my school improvement committee meeting.
Okay.
And I thank you.
All right, last round, Terry.
Yeah, I just thought about one more thing. The pricing that we got currently, is this for the move out storage and move it back in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make sure, so we don't have to come back again, but okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Now we just need a motion.
So moved.
All right, it has been moved by Trustee Gross, supported by VP Bowman, for the approval of Harrington Elementary School's infrastructure upgrades moving package. Any questions? Roll call, please.
I'm voting yes. Trustee Garrett?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Groves?
Yes.
President Hannah?
Yes.
Treasurer Terry?
Yes.
VP Bowman?
Yes.
Trustee Kraft?
Yes.
That passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. All right, were there any communications, petitions, and delegations, ma'am?
There are none.
All right, thank you. Board comments, are there any comments from the board? Yes.
Always.
Trustee Kraft.
I always have one. Winding down the end of the summer for my summer program for the children. I had over 100 kids register at my summer hangout, and this went on from the second week in July to actually tomorrow. We're having a big event, which is actually a fundraiser, and in the event, we're going to have around the world competition between Mayor Grimal and former Trustee Carrington. Yeah, so that'll start about 2:30 tomorrow. And then we have a mystery tournament, 3-on-3 players between some of the kids that's in the hangout, and Kermit Williams is going to coach against me. It'll be Team Kermit against Team Troy. So that's going to be fun. Then we're going to have some entertainment. I got a couple of the young kids that want to rap, and they say they got some real polished acts. And I mean, Mr. Bell is coming to do his science. And I mean, we're going to have a bunch of fun. It's going to be from 12 to 4 tomorrow over at the former Old Boys and Girls Club on Columbia. And between myself, Don Hanna, and Marcus Bowman, VP Bowman's husband and stuff, I think we had a wonderful summer. The kids were safe, and all of them enjoyed it. We went to the baseball game the other night, and it was, I mean, if anybody saw the pictures on Facebook, they would see that the kids enjoyed themselves. It's part of the Take the Kid to the Park program, and I created that 3 years ago, in which to the underprivileged kids that don't have the opportunity to go to those type of games, and you bring the family out for the family engagement. I mean, because if you look at it, you might have a family of 6, and they can't afford the tickets. We had $40 tickets sitting down in the lower thing, and you just saw the smiles on them children's face. So, you know, it's going to be it's a wonderful summer for us, and please come support us if you have time just to step in and stuff. And we're giving a PlayStation away. Her husband hustled it from one of our friends, and he donated a PlayStation 5. And we basically going to do a fundraiser, $15 a ticket, and they're going to go to the children that actually attended the camp, so they have the opportunity to, you know, to win that PlayStation 5. And then we're going to have other gifts. If anybody else have anything that they can donate, like backpacks or anything else for tomorrow, you know, just please notify me, and we can get it to the kids, because they are our kids, and we have to watch out for them. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you, Kraft. Secretary Davis Smith, anything?
I just wanted to know, was it still just 50 kids, or how many kids you got? Because you said 100.
Well, over the summer it was registered, but my transitional attendance usually be 50 kids a day.
So I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah, just come do your thing. It's gonna be funny and fun. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Treasurer Terry, nothing? All right. VP Bowman, anything? All right, good. Well, I do have a couple of things. One, I wanted to mention the back-to-school rally for our Pontiac School District community. That will take place on August the 21st. The two schools where they will be providing backpacks will be at, which one? Pontiac High, yes. Pontiac High and Walk Whitman. For the high school, middle school, they'll be at Pontiac High, and for the elementary students, they can pick up their backpacks from Walk Whitman.
What time is that?
From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
9 to 1.
Yes, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yep.
Dream Cruise Weekend is here. I see cars already starting to pull up. The parking lot is open for our staff, teachers that want to come and sit out and watch the Dream Cruise from this area. They are welcome to do that. We've already talked with Chief and have everything prepared to be set up so they can park there. They will need their IDs to show that they are staff of the district to park in the lot, as well as for our alumni, they will be here on the campus as well, parking at WHRC, but they too will have to have ID to show that they are part of the Alumni Foundation. So I just want to say, summer is winding down. We're getting ready to get back to school. I'm looking forward to our upcoming meeting. Dr. Leverett and I have tried to strategize our meetings for August because we knew we couldn't get everything in one meeting, so we had to spread out our agenda items. But as far as notifying the board of information, everything is coming out. And the information that we were discussing tonight in terms of the upgrades, wanting to know the school plans, what are they doing to get prepared to get back in the classrooms, all of that information will be forthcoming and share updates from summer school. All of that information will be forthcoming at our next meeting, which will be on Monday, August the 19th. So
Thank you.
enjoy the rest of your summer, everybody. And if I could go ahead and get a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Support.
It's been moved by VP Bowman, supported by Trustee Gross, to adjourn the meeting. Any questions? Roll call.
Trustee Garrett,
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Gross,
Yes.
President Hannah,
Yes.
Treasurer Terry,
Yes.
VP Bowman,
Yes.
Trustee Kraft,
Yes.
and I'm voting yes. That passes 7-0.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 5:49 PM. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Trustee Kraft.